Hello, Netherlands. Well, I just have to put my glasses on. Hello, hello, Dalia, Margaret, Natalie. Nice to meet you. Sorry, I need my glasses. Hello, from Chicago. Hello, hello. So yeah, there's a couple of spots here. We have a bit of a Wi-Fi connection issue, but I try to avoid that. Your tour has been dated. Yes, I know. It's actually we have Sunday here already, so it's the time zone, which is a bit confusing because on the website it says the 28th, but we actually already on the 29th, so it's 10 o'clock in the morning here. So we'll. As I mentioned before, we have a bit of a Wi-Fi here and there, but I know the area, so I'll try to avoid these places. And yeah, so a brief overview of what we're doing today. We are going around Mapua Wharf. There's lots to talk about. We talk about the scenery, of course. We talk about the food and wine, arts and crafts. Yeah, there's a couple of local stories. We talk about coffee, we talk about history, and we also want to talk a little bit about New Zealand in general. So I'm not sure if anybody of you has already been to New Zealand. Any hands up? Anybody been to New Zealand yet? If not, you are here now. So let's say you're in New Zealand now. So I'll just go to a little bit of a viewpoint to give you a better overview on Mapua. So if you look on a map, on a Google map, you actually have New Zealand, and we right in the middle. We at the tip of the South Island. So it's around about 35. Hello, Barbara. Hello. Oh, the uncle has been. Oh, my dad was from New Zealand. Oh wow, here we go. There's also a connection to New Zealand already. So I'll switch over my camera because, let me do that. Right, here we go. Now it's much better, of course. So I'll just give you a quick overview on Mapua. We basically, as I mentioned before, we are located in the northern tip of the South Island. It's about 35. Yes, there's a calendar issue, I know. John is aware of that, but they try to fix it with the old technology, so be with us. So again, we are in the northern tip of the South Island, about 35 kilometers from the major village of Nelson, the city of Nelson, and about 30 kilometers away from the Apple Tasman National Park. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that. But yeah, it's a lovely little place. We have about 3,000 people living here in Mapua. I'm a local here, I live outside town. And the whole region has about 50,000 people. So it's fairly underpopulated for international standards, but it's a lovely little community. And we're just starting the trip now, going over to the inlet, which is where the Mapua Wharf is basically located. Mapua is actually a Maori word. It's the indigenous people of New Zealand, the Maoris. They came here around about 1350, 1400. They came from the Polynesian Islands, actually from the group of Tahiti, around about. That's what historians think. And they named this place here Mapua. So Mapua is the name for place of abundance. So you can already imagine a place of abundance. So the kids here, the local school, they have put this signboard here together, and you see all the different shellfish, the fish. You also see the white heron. So we talk about all these things, but place of abundance gives you an idea what this beautiful place is all about. It's about food. It's about food. It's always been like that. So you have here the Waimea Inlet, which is a water system. We have about tides 2 to 3 meters every day, every 6.5 hours or so. And this goes right back into the into the country here, and it's actually the largest inlet in the South Island, at least. So very, very important for local bird life. They come over here to feed, but also for the early settlers, for the early Maori people. They came here. Actually, around the corner here at Crossey's Point, there used to be a settlement, a Maori settlement in the early days. We're talking about, you know, like 700-800 years ago. So this is sort of the first site we have in the background, the mountain range, the Richmond Range. We have on the other side, you see those trees. This is Rabbit Island. Rabbit Island, it's called. Yes, I'll show you on the map later on anyway, but it's actually very important for the local cycle trail, which we talk about as well. Hey, by the way, if you have any questions during the session, just sing out, and I'm more than happy to answer them, because it's also quite engaging, really, isn't it, to have a bit of a question session as well. So yeah, so we will see a little bit more of that inlet, but first of all, I want to maybe talk a couple of words about New Zealand as a travel destination in general. We have summertime now. So summertime is between October basically till March, and that means that it's its peak holiday season during the summertime. It's a beautiful climate here up in the northern tip of the South Island, and that's where most international travelers really come. They come for hiking, they come for the scenery, and they also come for food and wine. So let's talk about food and wine a little bit first. So here we got a local restaurant which is located right at the wharf. You can see the wharf here on the right hand side already, but we're going there, so don't worry, we will be heading there in another few minutes. But the Apple Shed, that is the local one of the local restaurants. There's actually two of them, but it gives you already an indication of what's happened here. It's about apples. Yes, apples. So in the early settlers here, the Maoris, again, you know, they came 1350, 1400. Are you a native originally from Germany? Yes, yes, Neil, I am from Germany. I came here 35 years ago, actually a little bit longer, 1986 on a holiday, and I'm still here. So I was a tour guide for 10 years for German companies, and later on I worked for other companies as well. So yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, apples. My grandmother was from Germany. Here we go. Here we go. It's a small boy. It's, you know, there's a lot of connections to Europe, isn't it? So apple trade in the early settlers from also from Germany, actually. There were some immigration from Germany in the early 1841, 1842. They came over here, and actually it's a good point, because the Germans, they were partly responsible for planting the apples and planting all other sorts of fruits, as well as the vineyards. So Mapua Wharf, just to cut to the chase, was a very important place to get shipping out the apples. So this started around about 1913, 1914, and I just want to show you a couple of pictures of what it looked like in those days. It was a roaring place. This was busy here. So it was, the apples were grown around in the Tasman region here, and because the roads were so bad, or they hardly existed really, they shipped them out. And you can see here the old pictures, like the guys, they're lifting those apple boxes, and they were actually stored here for a while. We come there in a minute, and then they were put on these ships. It's quite incredible. And now I'll show you the kind of numbers we're talking about. Like in 1948, we had here 550,000 cases of apples were exported from here. 550,000 of apples, boxes of apples. So this is, it was busy. It's a busy place. It lasted around about until 1964. And after that, the road access was much better, and therefore, yeah, a lot of stuff went, you know, apples and so on, went on road. Beside from the apples, we also had um, pears. We now actually have a lot of cherries. We have a bit of kiwi fruit, but also a lot of vegetables in the area. And so you still see this is a place of plenty. There's lots of food productions in the area. And we also talk about hop to brewing beer later in the trip. So, but let's talk about here, we got Remu Bar in front of us. Let's talk about wine a little bit, because we have 10 wine regions in New Zealand. 6 of them in the North Island and 4 of them in the South Island. And you probably be aware about Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnays and those kinds of major wine varieties. And they're very, very important here, especially in the next wine region is called Marlborough. You've probably heard about Sauvignon Blanc, Cloudy Bay, and all these famous places. And yeah, we have a much smaller wine region here in the Nelson Tasman region. It's kind of boutique, so if you're on a trip, and I actually want to do a wine tour at some stage with a local guide, with a wine guide, you actually bump into the winemaker. So it's all very small scale, and it's much more pleasant. And we have, besides the classic wine, let's go just to the map, maybe just show you the map. Hopefully the internet connection is stable enough to go there, but I've tried it before and it worked, but let's give it a go. So I like maps. I like to show you maps because it gives you kind of a better idea of where we are. So here we have Rabbit Island. Here we have Mapua. That's where we right are. That's where we're going to the ferry. Yeah, and this is the village of Mapua, and you see those little signs: vineyard, 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 vineyard. So they're all there. And what people often do, they combine the vineyard with cycling, bicycling. So they have not only the white wines, they also have Montepulciano, they have Pinot Noirs, they have all sorts of beautiful boutique kind of varieties. And yeah, I just love those places. They're much more local and personalized than you have it in the big wine regions such as Marlborough. Okay, I just mentioned bicycling. So a lot of people bicycling now here in the, let's swing it around, sorry, up, okay. So a lot of people now using bicycling to get around here in this region. We have a bicycle trail called the Great Taste Trail. And just let's have a look at those beautiful bikes. Actually, this is a company called Kiwi Journey. I used to work for them as a driver guide during the COVID days. So because there were lots of local New Zealanders traveling New Zealand. So this is one of the, or few actually, e-bikes, very, very popular because they assist you with cycling. It does not replace pedaling, but they actually assist you when you cycle. So you rent those bikes, you get a helmet with it, and yeah, get a map, and then off you go. And it's become hugely popular. And I want to show you, so if you have any questions, just sing out. So I want to show you a map, and I'll talk a little bit about the cycle trail because it's become such an important part of the Tasman region. GPS on bikes? No. No, what people would use is actually their map on their phones. But I tell you what, the cycle trails are so well signposted. you will find your way all right. It's very good. So I'll give you an idea here. So this is the northern part of the South Island. We've got Nelson here. So as I mentioned, that is the next major city. And you can see already here, this is part of the cycle trail. This is actually a bridge over one of the river systems, one of the estuaries. So it shows you they're very well established and very well built. So most people do this, they go from Nelson with a bike, cycling along here, going through Rabbit Island. This is Rabbit Island here. And they go on that little ferry. We will go there during the tour today. And yeah, and then they arrive about 3 o'clock or so, 3 or 3:30. They have a beer, have a wine, or have a coffee, and they get a transfer back to Nelson. So that is the very common route to do. Otherwise, some people do the whole loop, which is around about 200 kilometers. So they would actually stay in accommodations, bed and breakfast, country hotels, yeah, sometimes even pubs. And that takes about 4 days. So it's 200 kilometers. It's, yeah, it's one of the, over the last 10, 15 years, it's become very, very popular. Here's a bit of a bicycle range. So you can also go for standard bikes. So you've got a whole range of bikes for all sorts of frame sizes, low steps, standard frames, everyone, yep. And here we have the electric bikes. So just very briefly though, they're up to, 170 New Zealand dollars, 130 New Zealand dollars. So yeah, it's gives you kind of an idea what can be done here if you want to get active. So there's a lot of, I call it kind of like a lifestyle region. You have the opportunity to get active with cycling along, but also you have beautiful food and wine. Yeah, I'll talk about more about food later on. There's so much to go through. Now, we are here in front of, you would ask, what is this big door all about? Beautiful color, isn't it? But this is actually a former cold storage facility. So you may recall that we talked about the apples, the 550,000 boxes in 1948. Those boxes were delivered by the orchards here, and they were stored in these cold storage facilities until the next ship would arrive. So these are sliding doors, you can see that, and they're obviously no longer used, but they're now used for shops. They are beautiful little shops, they're art places, they're souvenir shops, and Mapua Wharf has become kind of a tourism destination. It's small scale. It's not like, you probably heard about Queenstown and Rotorua and Milford Sound. This is all very local, and that's what I really like about it. You meet the local people, and many of these items are also locally produced. You see that. We go one of my favorite galleries in a few minutes, but yeah, it just gives you an idea. It's very local. There's no mass tourism here. It's beautiful. I mean, we have Sunday morning. Sure, it's still a little bit quiet in respect of how many people are around, but by lunchtime, 12, 1 o'clock, it will be kind of humming. Here's another shop. My wife just loves it. It's all, I can't go too far because the internet connection kind of will time out, but it's all about wear for the house, vases and beautiful glasses. Are you a different area from? Or Poppy? Yeah, Poppy is actually, it's interesting, she's a friend of mine. Poppy is up in Auckland. So Auckland is obviously in the North Island. It's, well, it's 1.5 hours flight or so. Yeah, Poppy, she's doing tours at the moment in the North Island as well. So yeah, Poppy is a good friend of mine. Here we are, look at that. We got these, I call them gentlemen's chairs. So I often, the partner goes in and, we've got these chairs for people which are a little bit less interested to go shopping. But yeah, very, very cool place to go in there. Very quality stuff, actually. Very quality cookware and I'm into baking. I love baking. Obviously, I'm typical German, you know. I like my bread, and they have beautiful bread baskets and all very quality. So this is obviously a lovely place to browse around and just to linger and yeah, absorb the local vibe. And here we are again, the Mapua cool stores. So that's original. Yeah, that's original. So again, until 1964 it was used, and then it's kind of was no longer. Look at this. This is a famous roundabout here. In New Zealand we have traffic on the left side of the road. So we're like the English system. There's a motorbike coming, so we probably want to stop. And that's crossing over. There's another one. Let's go. So people are, yep, it's getting busy. You see, I mean, there's lots of car park here, and already it's getting busier. We got on Sunday, we got a local market, the Mapua market. It's fairly small. I was at the market. Is your wife already? No, she is not. She's a Kiwi from Christchurch. Yeah, we met. We're married now. 22 years. 22 years. So yeah, I had to think about it. No, this is the Mapua market. Again, very small. I've been to the Nelson market yesterday, and I actually want to do a Nelson market tour next week. There's no point going in there, but yeah, I want to do Nelson market hopefully next week. I just need to plan that a little, because I think it would be very interesting for you guys to see. It's a bit, you know, much more vibe and many more products. Here's an interesting man. He has music instruments. Hello, John. Hello, John. Can we go over? That's John. That's the man with a, what do you call them? Banjos or? Hubcaps.
Car wheel.
Yeah, I know. Okay, cool. Let's have a look. We've been there last week as well, and he did us a little concert. So look at that. So he's building those music instruments. Look at that. Out of car caps. So from the wheels, and he built those things, and there's all sorts of little treasures. There's even an old coins and spoons, and yeah, there's another one. Look at that. So it's all, you know, local arts and crafts already here. You know, I've seen him last week here, and he was so kind to do a little concert. Yeah, did you see that last week, Natalie? Yeah, it was cool, wasn't it? He's not in the mood today, so I'm sorry, I can't. You said to you should make a listing. Yeah, exactly. Now look at that. I just go a little bit underneath here and show that. But yeah, I mean, those are the kind of unexpected things sometimes. You just, you know, every tour is different. And every tour I find something new to talk about and to show off. But yeah, I'll find that rather interesting that the locals, there's a lot of artists around here, a lot of potteries, a lot of interesting to hear the sound. Yeah, I know, but I can't make him get up today. Last week he was sitting right next to his instrument, but hopefully another time I can encourage him. Or do you want me? Shall I ask him? Shall we? Yeah, we shall. Hey, John. They ask you to play. Would you mind to play? Oh, he's coming. Yes, he's coming, John. Just you know, half a minute. Here he is. So we've got people from the Netherlands, from Chicago.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh, wow.
yeah. So here we are. Look at that, here's all the receiver, everything is, look at that.
Pig nose, little pig nose in. That's what it's called, pig nose.
Pig nose?
See the little
Oh, what's
from
that?
America. They come from America.
Oh, all right, all right. New York, from New York. Hey, thank you very much, John. Hey, that was wonderful. They really enjoyed it. They were from New York, from Los Angeles, so all happening here in Mapua. Wow, he's so good. She said, thanks for asking. Thank you for doing it for us, John.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you very much.
yeah, all the best. Catch you next time. Well, no, I'm from here. These people are from around the world. Yeah, we're just.
Clever stuff.
Yeah, it is clever. Thanks, John. That was Neil from New York. All right, I'll just swing back. All the best.
All the best.
Okay, rightio. Okay, let's move on. So it just shows you, people are. A lot of times I hear that from my travelers that one of the key experiences they love about New Zealand is the people. The friendliness, and as you've seen, you just approach people and they're really happy to help and to engage. So here's another one. I always mention that it's the local fire station. We're very lucky to have these volunteers to help us, not only for fires but also they get called out for traffic accidents, and we're very fortunate to have those volunteers. So now we kind of now going into the northern part of the Mapua cool storage. This is a kind of a, it's the same but it's different, if you know what I mean. We have lovely shops here as well, but there's one shop I really want to show is Forest Fusion. They have really, really smart, cool local art. It's all produced locally, from small pieces to larger pieces, and it's a beautiful feeling. I mean, it's hard to bring over obviously on a live streaming call, but you may get the vibe. So we have these beautiful, almost windmill kind of structures. Now let's go in. So it's called Forest Fusion. They also have a website. And let's go in. Look at that, isn't that incredible? So I just let you absorb this for a second, but she's coming now, the manager's coming, and she's actually putting a bit of a spin on the sculptures. Look at that, and that's what's happening. They're basically for the outdoors, aren't they? And they're for the outdoors, and with a bit of wind, you get a bit of action. So, and here, of course, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Missing not being here today. Honestly, I'm coming here at least once a week at least, and I love coming back. There are so many little quirky things all the time, and they're changing all the time. Look at this. They are little kind of like insects, and they are built with spoons and knives and an old drill. It's just, it's called Forest Fusion. Forest Fusion. And here's another one. Look at that little bird. Very, very clever. Very clever. I mean, it's so simple in a way, but it's very clever. And here's another one. Look at that. Spoon, little forks, and I mean, some of them a little bit more, $980, and some of them are kind of, these ones are $110, just to give you an idea of, just go through here. And now I love these ones. And they're always, as I mentioned before, they always seem to change. So there must be quite a turnover of those. Like this one, I mean, it represents a fish, but the artists obviously used the saw. Then they used the kind of clippers or whatever they are. And, oh, here we are, look at that. But they also used old sheep shearing equipment. I've seen that before. It's not here today, but yeah, they're all recycled. Yeah, they're all recycled, and that's the beauty with it. And look at that up there. Haven't seen it. It's the first time I see that. That's an old chain, a motorbike or whatever chain, and yeah, it's incredible what you can do out of these recycled materials. And they also match it obviously with wood. Like this one is wonderful. Look at that. I've seen actually one of my neighbors, he has a similar one to that. Please show the beautiful, just need to put my glasses on, the ray, just put my glasses on that I can read it better, sorry. Yeah, so this is, with wood, great combination. And there's another, just wood. But again, I just have to state it again, it's all local. On the wall, okay, I'll go back. Tina, so which one? On the wall? Oh, the ray, this one, didn't you? Yeah. So this one is 320, that's New Zealand dollars. If you're in the US, New Zealand dollars is a third less. It's almost 35% less. So it's around about, whatever, 200 US dollars, It's beautiful, really it is, and it's solid metal. Look at that. Yeah, we've been there. Yeah, let's move on. There's also, apart from the larger things, there's also smaller items, which is often, when for tourists, when they come along here, they do shop here, and like earrings, they have stainless steel and surgical steel, perfect for sensitive ears. Thanks for showing us. Yeah, it's my pleasure, absolutely. So I'll walk around here because there's some people. So it gives you an idea. I mean, there's so many. Again, yeah, I would go crazy. Me too, actually, to be honest. I mean, I'm not into jewelry that much, but these are beautiful, beautiful pieces. So let's go a little bit further in the back here. I can't go too much further because we'll get some internet connection issues. Look at that. But yeah, have a look at their website, Forest Fusion, and you might get a little bit more detailed. Look at that. Look at these. Look at that. It's a nice little niche. I can't go in there because my internet would disappear. But here, look at that Tyrannosaurus Rex, the T-Rex. Very clever, very clever. So, yeah, so I just, this is kind of a very, very precious little shop, but I think we've seen enough, hopefully. If you have any further questions, let me know, but we just want to move on to the next place along the Mapua Wharf. There's so much to see still, and so much to talk about. So yeah, let's get out and into the fresh air, to the sunshine. It's a beautiful day today. We had quite a bit of wind yesterday, which is that time of year often happens. Artists are very creative for sure. They are, and New Zealanders in general, they make the most out of what they have. I guess it comes all back the old days with. In the old days, they kind of relied on that, and I have some farmer friends, and they they need to do everything themselves. So we call it the eight wire ingenuity in New Zealand. So here's some other shops. I won't go in there. This one is closed. Some of them opening up later. Here, another look at that. There's a horse. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? So it's actually the first time I've seen that. So yeah, get the checkbook out. Yes. So okay, enough, enough of arts and crafts, and let's move on to food. So we have here on the right-hand side we have ice cream shop, Hamish. Hamish's ice cream shop. So one of the key things in New Zealand is food, and ice cream and generally all milk products are pretty stunning good. Hamish's ice cream shop is obviously in the summertime, especially in the afternoons when it gets warmer, very busy. There's already some people queuing up. Yeah, it's very, very good. So I haven't. Sounds Irish, Hamish. Yeah, I'll tell you about Hamish in a minute because there's actually a story about Hamish. And it's nothing to do with Irish actually. It's a story about a bird, but we'll come there in a minute. So here is Alberto's. It's a coffee. And I just want to talk about the coffee house, the coffee scene in general in New Zealand. When I came to New Zealand about 35, 40 years ago, we had cups of teas every day. Pots of teas, cups of teas, and all sorts of funny kind of asparagus rolls and, but it has, over the last 35 years, honestly, it has become a true coffee scene in New Zealand. Everybody drinks coffee. Unlike in Europe, they usually have their coffees in the morning and in the afternoon. Sorry, in the morning and at lunchtime, not in the afternoon. It's a typical European thing. I still love to have my coffee in the afternoons, but a lot of New Zealanders don't. So, by the way, if you want to support, while I'm talking about coffee, if you want to support the channel, please feel free to go to the subscription box, and there's buymeacoffee.com if you want to do that. That's fine. Yeah, people sitting out here and enjoying beautiful brunch, Sunday morning, people are out with the families. It's the last weekend before we actually, before the school's starting again next week. We had a big holiday, usually from kind of starting December until the end of January. Nothing much happens in New Zealand. It's really weird. It's nothing much happens. The kids go off school, all the departments are closed, everything. So from next week onwards, life goes back to normal a little bit. Here, on the left-hand side here is a pub. Looks a bit empty at the moment, of course, but I just want to talk briefly about beer, and especially hop. This area, the Nelson region, is the main hop growing area in New Zealand. In New Zealand, and one of the major ones in the world actually. We produce around about 1,500 tons of hop, and 85% of that is actually exported. And you have to visualize it that way, that hop is kind of like wine varieties. They're different flavors. There's about 17 different hop varieties produced here in New Zealand, but they're mainly exported to the US, believe it or not. 50% of our exports go to the US. A lot of exports go to UK, Germany, Japan. It's around about 20 countries in the world, and they're really renowned for their unique flavors and for their unique blends. And I could do a whole video session on that, but there's so many stories about that, about the research and development and how long it took. And yeah, I don't want to go into it now, but let's go further towards the sea. So we're looking towards the north here. What time is it there? So we're just approaching kind of 11 o'clock in the morning, 11 a.m. in the morning, New Zealand time. So we're looking towards north, and the interesting thing is in New Zealand, when you look towards north, that's where the sun is at lunchtime. So it's totally different, on the opposite to the northern hemisphere. So we have the sun at midday in the north. So we're looking towards north. We're looking to the Tasman Sea, which you can see in the background there. I just want to put my glasses away a little bit because I want to. Sorry, getting a bit wobbly. So yeah, you see the Waimea channel here. We basically will follow this here now towards the wharf. And here is the ferry I talked about before. So we looked at the cycle trail, which heads over from Nelson over to Mapua here. As I mentioned before, it's about 35 kilometers, which is around about, I would say, about 25 miles. Yeah, yep, that's right. So you would be 10:40 p.m. That would be 12 hours time difference to Europe. Yeah, that's right. At the moment, it's summertime here, and you got winter time. But so these cyclists that come over from Nelson, on the other side here, you have Rabbit Island. These is the pine forest plantation. It's quite interesting with the pine forest because it's a very big industry now here in New Zealand. But before the first Polynesian seafarers came to New Zealand, there were only native plants and there were only birds, believe it or not. There were no rabbits, there were no deer, pigs, all that stuff, dogs, there were none of them. There were only birds. And the first, explorers like Captain Cook, he came along and they mentioned how noisy it was. It must have been incredible. Anyway, let's go back. Let's go back to the cycle trail. So people would come. You might spot here on the other side. There's a little shed. People wait there for the ferry to cross them over. Happens every hour. It's only about 3 or 4 minutes ride, but the cost is $12. And as I mentioned before, people would arrive here around 3:30, and they have a cup of coffee, and then they get a transfer back, coffee or wine or whatever they want, and then they get a transfer back to Nelson. So it's a very convenient and very popular service. Now let's head slowly to our final goal. Really, it's the Mapua Wharf. I go there every time I'm here. I'm kind of addicted to the wharf almost. So we have here in the background, we have the Jellyfish is another restaurant. Just want to point out these little trees. They're lancewood. They're New Zealand endemic trees. So a lot of plants here in New Zealand, they're actually endemic. They don't grow anywhere else in the world. So that's quite an interesting one, lancewood. So I want to tell you now about the local hero, so to say, Hamish. So Hamish is actually, I'll put it a bit larger. Let me go a little bit further, and then I'll increase the size a little bit here. You can see that? So we have here a sculpture. This white bird is a white heron, and his name is Hamish. The story is this. Hamish came here for 18 years, every year for feeding mainly, from the west coast of the South Island. The reason again, place of abundance, heaps for birds to feed on. Yeah, I totally thought there were many people think that, I'll tell you that, but it's twice the size than an actual, bird. So anyway, he disappeared. So Hamish came for 18 years and he disappeared in 2010. So he didn't come back. So the local community, local artists actually put up that that sculpture for Hamish. That was in 2012. And yeah, many people look at it and they actually think this is a real bird. But I'll tell you what, it was before COVID, I think. We were here in town and at the wharf, and at the fish and chips shop, there was actually a white heron walking around, believe it or not. It was not Hamish, but it was just another. So once in a while, we'd still see white herons in that region here, because again, they come for feeding. So let's move on. Let's move to the just put it a bit smaller. Totally was real. Yeah, let's move on and let's move to over to the wharf now. Here we are, we have New Zealand flags here in front of us. It was very important in the early days for export, for putting, ropes together and all sorts of things. Here we've got a little bit of a signpost. So in New Zealand with fishing, you can actually go out into the sea and you can go fishing. There are some rules here. You can get 2 fish per day. This is blue cod, beautiful fish, beautiful fish. We're very blessed actually in New Zealand. We have lots of stunning fish in restaurants, or you can buy it. We love our fish. So anyway, let's move on. Let's move to the wharf. Jellyfish, as the name says, there's a lot of people come here. They love to dine here. They love to sit out there. You can imagine. Look at that. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Looking out with a view. I just do a little swing around here, and we see Hamish again in the background. We have Rabbit Island. We see a little bit more of the. Just try to stabilize as much as I can. We see a little bit more about the ferry. It's a perfect day today, really. It's very calm. Here we are, look at these ones. People have their bikes parked here. They have cool little bicycle signs as well. How's that? Isn't that amazing? It's almost art, isn't it? Yeah, and people sitting there and enjoying their Sunday. Yeah. So let's move over to the wharf. I'm not sure, some of you might have been with me last week, but we had a lot of young people jumping off the wharf. So that was quite a special treat as well, because it doesn't happen all the time. It just depends how people feel and if they're happy to jump in there. But the Mapua Wharf, this is where all the action happened. In the old days, as I mentioned before, between 1914 and 1964, so for 50 years, it was a humming kind of a port area where lots of apples were exported to around New Zealand and also to Australia. Here we are is a little pier for the ferry. Sometimes it parks here and gets people over there. So yeah, look at that. Maybe it's just for you to soak it in. So it looks, the tide's coming in at the moment. Can be quite strong sometimes, but yeah. Yeah, so now you got a full view of the Mapua Wharf, and I'll just go into the edge here and show you. So this is perfectly safe for jumpers. I've done it myself. It's perfectly safe and it's really fun, but mainly young people do it in these days. And yeah, it's one of these special places. If you ever come to New Zealand, one of these special places. Just, it's often people come, from my experience, often people come to and visit the famous places, but there's heaps of smaller locations like Mapua Wharf where you really get that local vibe, the local scene. And as we've seen with John, our guitar player, you get a lot of hospitality and a lot of love almost, So quickly, here is a little museum, and I love the place. I'm a little bit into history, and I love those smaller museums. They're around the country. You just walk in. There's no fees. You can donate a little bit, but I just want to show you, give you a little bit of a vibe. I can't go too far in, but it's one of these places here where you can get a glimpse of what's happened in the old days. You have the old first settlers, the first European, 1854 boarded, and yeah, I don't want to go through all that, but it just shows you there's the old flags hanging out. It's all community-based. People support it. There's some old pictures. This one is really, there's a couple of them I want to show you. I don't want to go too much, but this is actually the first ships, the first organized settlement, 1841 October. Captain Wakefield, they came with settlers. It was all organized. It's called New Zealand Company in those days. But this is actually in the Abel Tasman National Park. And they went over there first and they figured out it's no good as a harbor because it was too shallow for the ships. So what they've done, they actually moved over to the other side, and that's where they established Nelson. So 1841, and you see that smoke here? There's a bit of a smoke. That's exactly where the other place was. That's where they first landed, and then they moved over to Nelson. And they pitched their tents, and in a matter of years, 2 or 3 years, there were thousands of people. So Nelson was one of the first major settlements in New Zealand in those days, 1840s, early 1840s. So again, I don't want to go too much further, otherwise we lose the connection. But here's another lovely picture. I love it's that place of plenty, Mapua, place of plenty. You see the old picture. I'm not sure when that was, in the 550s, 1950s, where the fishermen, they had plenty of fish. Look at these, the boys, they're having the old fish there. So here, there were the days. So let's move out and just complete our little loop. I'll show you the local fish and chip shop on the way and tell you a couple of interesting stories there in combination with wine. But yeah, that's pretty much another 5 minutes or so of our tour. It's a special place, and it's hard to bring across the vibe, of course, of the environment. Here's somebody sitting there, I know, mate Rohan, just doing a live streaming. And it's you always bump into locals, don't you? I mean, if you walk around, the other day I bumped into my neighbor. So we just walked through here. There could be a little bit of a Wi-Fi internet bump, but hopefully we can make it without too much struggle. There's a little shop I love. These guys, Rabbit Island Coffee, they actually have a coffee roasting going on. Unfortunately, he usually does do it in the morning at 5, a little bit early to get up, but they have all sorts of goodies as well. Maybe just quickly jump in, and what I like with the local produce, we got local jams, chutney, we got local olives, olive oil, we got the old black garlic. So there's lots of local products. Here's olive oil, extra virgin. So a lot of visitors come here and they grab something. There are also candles, locally made candles. Lots of tourists come through and they get themselves a little souvenir. And one day I want to do actually a coffee roasting session, but I'm not sure if they would be interested. So let me know, and I'll even get up at 5 if necessary. So let's walk through here again and just complete the loop. We've got the local fish and chip shop here. They normally they open at 11 o'clock, so another 5 minutes. So the local fish and shop. The interesting thing is this here. So what people do, you see those benches, the seats, the tables. So what people do, here we go. Somebody's waving at us. So what people do, they buy the fish and chips, sitting down. And what they do on the other side, they actually get the glass of wine. So on the other side, we've got the Remu bar. When do they open? I think they open from noon or 12 o'clock. So people can actually share. They share fish and chips on the left and wine on the right-hand side. How cool is that? So that's the way it works. It's all about community. Everybody's kind of helping each other, especially the local businesses. And so we basically coming back to the apple shed, and we complete our loop. if you have any further questions, just let me know. It's been a real pleasure to showing you around. Yeah, I'm quite proud about the region. It's one of the most stunning places to be. Has a good vibe, nice environment, a very, very moderate temperature. Even in the winter time, we don't get any snow here. Further down in South Island, you get snow, but not here. So, hey, I'll just swing the old camera around again. Just the last picture here of Mapua Wharf with a cabbage tree, which is another native tree. So I just swing it around and say bye-bye. Hey, thank you very much for joining me again. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, if you want to support the channel, just go into the subscription box. You can also join my YouTube channel, just subscribe. It would be lovely to catch up with you again, maybe next week even, you know. I'll really want to do the Nelson market and Nelson in general, a little bit different. But yeah, I'll keep you posted on that. So have a nice weekend and bye-bye.